This video is about dietary nitrate and its effect on continuous endurance performance. We are going to explore the magical effect of nitrate along 4 questions. What is nitrate and how does it work? What are benefits and downsides? And how can I use it for my own diet? There are lots of different recommendations for perfect nutrition of today's athletes. The field of sports nutrition continues to grow at a rapid rate. Tons of supplements with different impacts on your body have been developed in the last decades. Some of them are scientifically proven to have positive effects, and others are told to do so. Because of the huge amount of possibilities, you can easily get lost in the supplement jungle. So let's break it down a bit and focus on one of them: nitrate. Nitrate is currently mostly used in endurance sports and has a growing popularity as a supplement. It is proven to have positive effects on fatigue resistance as well as exercise efficiency and therefore on exercise performance. But what exactly is nitrate? Nitrate is an inorganic polyatomic anion that consists of one central nitrogen and 3 surrounding oxygen atoms. It has the chemical formula NO3-. But how does it work? The reason for the ergogenic effect of nitrate is its conversion into nitric oxide, or short, NO. There are 2 different pathways NO is created. The original pathway is the L-arginine nitric oxide synthesis pathway. More recently researched is the nitrate-nitrite nitric oxide pathway. The nitrate, or NO3-, is reduced to nitrite, NO2-, by means of anaerobic bacteria on the surface of the tongue. The nitrite is then reduced to nitric oxide in the gut. In conditions of low oxygen availability and low pH, this process is facilitated. And during exercise, there are similar conditions in skeletal muscle. Nitric oxide is involved in a wide array of signaling and regulatory functions in the human body, and in terms of exercising, leads to enhanced performance. It is responsible for vasodilation, angiogenesis, mitochondrial respiration, and biogenesis, as well as glucose uptake and SR calcium handling. The numerous bodily effects of nitric oxide can cumulatively improve muscle economy, exercise efficiency, and mitigate fatigue. It positively impacts cardiorespiratory performance by decreasing the effort at submaximal workloads. Let's look into this in more detail. Here you can see some of the physiological effects of NO and their impact on the overall performance. Nitric oxide increases the blood flow to muscles and decreases the oxygen cost for exercise as well as the ATP cost of muscle, which means that you are able to perform at the same intensity with lower energy costs. As a result, it increases the efficiency of mitochondrial respiration. Another effect is the enhanced function of type 2 fibers, which is especially interesting for athletes with higher levels of glycolytic fibers. That is, athletes in high-intensity interval sports, doing lots of sprint interval training. These physiological effects are measurable in terms of improved muscle economy as well as improved VO2 max. In a continuous exercise workload, especially your performance at the anaerobic threshold improves through higher levels of exercise tolerance. The decreased effort at submaximal workloads causes an increased time to exhaustion. Therefore, the intake of nitrate can lead to an overall improvement in the time trial performance. To sum it up, here are some of the most important outcomes of some studies in terms of data. During severe intensity running, there is a 4 to 25% improvement in time to task failure. If you translate that on a set distance, you will see a reduction of approximately 1% in time, which is a lot, especially in high-performance athletes. The ergogenic effect lasts for about 5 to 30 minutes of exercise. Sounds like nitrate is undeniably good, and everyone should take it, right? Let's cast a critical eye on it, because the efficiency of NO3- intake relies on several factors. For example, age, health status, training status, and of course also on the nature of the exercise task in terms of duration and intensity. Furthermore, you have to think about the dose and duration of supplementation, depending on your diet and your training status. I would like to point out that there is no need of supplementation if you focus on your daily nutrition. More on that later. For well-trained athletes with a relative VO2 max above 60, there are limited benefits. It remains unclear if nitrate has beneficial effects for elite athletes at all. Some studies assume that therefore there may be a higher doses required for elite athletes to see effects. However, the evidence for that is limited. Moreover, there seems to be a restricted period of exercise time for which nitrate is able to enhance performance. Due to lower intensity for durations above 40 minutes, studies have discovered limited beneficial effects. Lastly, you have to consider the impairment of training adaptations. Through a reduction of the oxygen cost of muscle contraction, the metabolic stress inside the muscle is reduced. Thereby, it may decrease the activation of cell signaling pathways, for example AMPK and PGC1-alpha. In the following, we are going to have a look on the recent scientific recommendations for nitrate intake. You have to be aware that there is still a lot of investigating going on, because little is known about the nitrate intake for optimizing the positive effects. Different studies advise different recommendations, so I will present you a range of data that represent the current scientific guidelines. The NO3- consumption should be between 5 and 9 millimole for measurable effects. That equals 310 to 560 milligrams of nitrate. The science currently states that the upper limits to benefit from the consumption are above 9 millimole or 560 milligrams respectively. It is questionable if higher doses of 9 to 12 millimole have any effects for elite athletes. Acute performance benefits are seen within 2 to 3 hours following the NO3- bolus of 5 to 9 millimole. However, your long-term exercise improvement may rather be promoted by a chronic than an acute supplementation strategy. But how can I do it? What do I need to consume to get these effects? As I already said, you could of course just buy and take the nitrate as a supplement. But because it's actually quite easy to get the required amount in, I will focus on the daily nutrition in the following. Nitrate-rich food include leafy green and root vegetables such as lettuce, spinach, rocket, celery, cress, and beetroot. 100 gram fresh weight of these typically contain over 250 milligrams of nitrate. That means that we need to consume 124 to 224 grams of leafy green or root vegetables to meet the recommendations of daily intake. You have probably heard of the increased popularity of beetroot juice. more and more athletes making use of the effects by drinking beetroot juice before their run. You need to consume about half a liter, depending on the juice itself, to meet the recommendations. Recent data show that beetroot juice consumption should ideally commence within 90 minutes prior to exercise, rather than 2 to 3 hours, as suggested in earlier studies. The reason for that is NO levels peaking at 2 to 3 hours and then sharply fall, leaving the athlete in a potentially suboptimal time interval for exercise. Further studies need to investigate the timing of nitrate intake in more detail and compare no intake to both acute and chronic ingestion. Let's shortly summarize the current scientific recommendations dealing with nitrate for exercise improvement. An intake of 310 to 560 mg nitrate per day through leafy green and root vegetables can have ergogenic effects for continuous exercise performance between 5 and 30 minutes. Decreased oxygen costs for exercise and many other physiological effects lead to an improved time to exhaustion. Following all these scientific recommendations will probably lead to a slight improvement in your continuous endurance exercise performance. However, you probably won't be the next Eliud Kipchoge just because of taking it. Nutrition is important, very important, and supplements on the top can make a difference, especially when it comes down to the last seconds. But always remember, it's just the tip of the iceberg. You should focus on that when everything else is going right. Cheers.